Hey, welcome. It's another day here at Renewed Life Ministries Bible Study. So, bear with me a little bit. I just zoomed in on Facebook. On YouTube. Now I'm going to switch over to Facebook to make sure we are good on Facebook as well. And once we do that, we will get started. All right. So I'm not sure if Facebook started yet. It's on a spin, but I'm gonna double check on YouTube to make sure that we are good on YouTube as well. And I see that we are good on YouTube. So appreciate you guys signing in and checking us out. Those who may watch now and those who may watch later. So I want to thank you guys for that for tuning into Real Life Ministries Bible Study today. And I believe we are now live on you Facebook. We good? Okay, so we are good on Facebook as well. Going to go through this Bible study. This could be another quick one as well. We're going to be coming out of the book of Judges. As I mentioned before, the past weeks, that we coming in this year doing a lot on women that was in the Bible and strong women, and just showing that there was a presence of women in there. So a lot of is you notice a lot been going with the Old Testament. Now, no different today. We'll be coming out of the book of Judges because we're going to be speaking about the story of Deborah. So Deborah is another one that we'll be looking into briefly today, although there's more than what we are going to be talking about. I just want to let you know that's what we're going to be doing. Deborah, we're going to be coming out of the book of Judges. Whew, bear with me on that because there's another one in the Old Testament that has all these names that are hard to pronounce, right? So I know I'm gonna get a few wrong, and that's just fine. Uh, you get the gist of it, or pronounce them differently, I guess. Um, so bear with me on that, and then we'll get through this story. But I think the content of who Deborah was and how she played a part in the Old Testament, I think is worthy of note taking and understanding as we talk about these women who made a impact in the Bible. Now, today is I know we discussed Abigail in the past. We discussed the daughters. We discussed who else did we discuss? We discussed some more in the past weeks. Today's Deborah, and I think I got a couple more weeks of women that was in the Bible that we're going to discuss, and then we'll go into some others as well. All right. So with that said, we're going to be coming out of Judges, and again, bear with me on these names. Coming out of Judges, I didn't have time to practice them. Judges chapter 4, verse 4 through 24. So that's a lot to rereading today and a lot of names. So Judges 4, chapter 4, uh, verse 4 to 24 is what we're going to be coming out of that. Now, as always, I speak about, give a couple of nuggets about the book that we be coming out of, or at least the main book that we will come out of when we're doing Bible study. Just to throw a few nuggets about the book, not necessarily connected with what we're studying, but about what the book is, right? But it gives us a little bit of nuggets so we have some content. All right, so Judges. Okay, let me go back. I always mention that who's the author of books, right, and so forth, and if they had an author or not, or what's the best recollection of what recollection that we can get, or someone may have placed down and who may have been the author of that. Well, in Judges, there's no such author that is hardcore saying this is the author of the book. However, in the Jewish tradition, they identify Samuel as the person who could have penned this because he was living during that time frame, right? So he could have summed the story up uh, by being around during that time frame. Now, in Judges is really a tragic sequel to Joshua, the book of Joshua. So Judges is a sequel to Joshua, but it's tragic, right? Like during Joshua time and so forth, everybody was praising, the Israelites was praising God and being obedient to God, right? Well, in Judges, and they weren't so. So let's see what I wrote. In Joshua, the people were obedient, were obedient to God in conquering the land. In Judges, they were disobedient, adulterous, and often defeated. So in Joshua, they were winning and they were obedient to God. And in Judges, they weren't. And guess what? They were defeated a lot. And they idoled things other than God, which allowed them to be adulteresses. Okay. It also focused on the closing days of the book of Joshua, right? So now, those are a few nuggets about the book of Judges. So kind of give you an idea that you can look in Judges and kind of see, if you're looking to see what was going on during that time, how people were acting, why God was judging, how they were judging folks, etc. Look in the book of Judges, and it'll help you out in that venture. Now, moving on to what we're discussing today, which is Deborah. Let me speak a little bit about Deborah. As a brave prophet, which is what she was, Deborah guides the people of Israel from the front lines of a battle to end their suffering. And you say, wait, a woman was in battle? Yeah, let's check it out and read what's going on. This is back in Judges. So again, we're going to Judges 4, chapter 4, verse 4 to 24. And bear with me with the names. So let's start with chapter 4. Now, Deborah, a prophet, the wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at that time. She held court under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hills of the country of Ephraim. And the Israelites went up to her to have their disputes decided. So the Israelites were going up to Deborah to have the dispute decided, right? She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh and Naphtali, and said to him, the Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead them up to Mount Tabor. I will send Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army with their chariots and his troops to Kishon River and give him into your hands. Barak said to her, if you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go. Let me pause for a minute and tell you what is that saying so far. So Barak was letting her know, and I'm paraphrasing that, hey, if you don't go, I ain't going. Right? How many of us know that we got people like that and friends like that and family members? If they ain't going, I ain't going. Right? So he was like, nah, I don't know about this. But Deborah, who was a prophet and was part of, she was a leader, and people were coming to her. He said, if she goes, I go. But if you don't go, girl, I ain't going. Right? So that's what was going on. It also lets you know how much power Deborah had. A female back in the day who was, a lot of women were considered second and third class citizens, right? So a female, Deborah, had power in that sense. Verse 9, certainly I will go with you, said Deborah, but because of the course you are taking, the honor would not be yours, for the Lord would deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. So she prophesied. Not necessarily saying it's her, but she said of a woman. So Deborah went with Barak to Kadesh. There Barak summoned Zebulun and Naphtali, and 10,000 men went up under his command. 10,000 men went under his command. Deborah also went up with him. So she went. Now, excuse me, now Heber, the Kenite, had left the other Kenites, the descendants of Hobad, Moses' brother-in-law, and pitched his tent by the great tree in Zahamani, excuse me, near Kadesh. When they saw Sisera, that Barak, son of Abinadab, had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera summoned from Haramsat Hagaman to the Kishon River all his men and his 900 chariots fit with iron. Excuse me. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go. This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hand. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" So Barak went down Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. At Barak's advantage, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariot and army by the sword, and Sisera got down from his chariot and fled on foot. So Sisera was afraid of what was going to happen, so he fled and left his people. 16. Barak pursued the chariot and army as far as Haraseth Hagaman, and all Sisera's troops fell by the sword. Not a man was left, so they all died. Sisera, meanwhile, fled on foot, like we mentioned earlier, right, to the tent of Jael, and the wife of Heber, the Kenite, because they were an alliance between Jabin, king of Hazor, and the family of Heber and the Kenite. 18. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid." So he entered her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. That was the wife, Hazor, right? I mean, not Hazor, Heber. So she went to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid." He was running, right? He was running. So he entered her tent and she covered him with a blanket. Now, before we go to 19, remember what I said earlier that Deborah told Barak, not Obama, Barak, that Sisera would be killed by a woman. Remember I said it may not necessarily be her, Deborah. So 19. So remember, Sisera is there. "I'm thirsty," he said. "Please give me some water." She opened a skin of milk, gave him a drink, and covered him up. Verse 20. "Stand in the doorway of the tent," he told her. "Stand in the doorway. If someone comes by and asks you, 'Is anyone in there?' say no." Remember, he was running. But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quickly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. So as he was fast asleep, exhausted, she picked up a peg and a hammer. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. That's a lot. She drove the peg so hard it went to the ground, right? And of course, he died. That's 22. Just then, Barak came by in pursuit of Sisera. He was trying to get him. And Jael went out to meet him. Come, she said, I will show you the man you're looking for. So he went in with her, and there lay Sisera with the tent peg through his temple, dead. On that day, God subdued Jabin, king of Canaan, before the Israelites, and the hand of the Israelites pressed harder and harder against Jabin, king of Canaan, until they destroyed him. Amen. So that's the end of that portion of what I'm trying to get in. And hopefully you guys got past me tired and and jacking up names. But at the sum of it, what I wanted to point out is how Deborah played a part. A woman back in the day played a part of helping Barak take care of the things they need to take care of, because and showing that God had favored in Barak and his army to do what they need to do, and that God, remember, she's a prophet, so that God showed her to show him how things be done, and it came to come.